Now, the economy has suffered a sharper than expected slowdown ahead of the budget. Earlier today, Rachel Reeves spoke to reporters.
This year to date, we have been the fastest growing economy in the G7, still awaiting US numbers. But of course, in the first half of this year, we were the fastest growing economy in the G7. Is there more to do? Absolutely. To grow our economy, to ensure there are good jobs, paying decent wages in all parts of the UK, which is why today I'm in Anglesey announcing a government investment alongside the private sector with Rolls-Royce as our preferred provider to create 3,000 jobs just here in Anglesey, building small modular reactors to power 3 million homes.
Well, that's a chancellor there putting on a brave front. But let's now speak with the political commentator and the independent statistician, Jamie Jenkins. Jamie, you've written an excellent Substack this morning, and the headline is Withering. Rachel Reeves' economic strategy is failing. Tell us why.
Yeah, well, in the clip there, Martin, she talked about creating 3,000 jobs up in Anglesey. Obviously, we talked a few days ago about the 170,000 jobs that have been lost since the election. And so whilst it's good to get some high-skilled jobs potentially in North Wales, that's masking the wider picture. And what we've seen today is that we've got a couple of weeks now until we go into the budget. It's the last set of economic figures. So it's been a very busy week on the economic data front. It's the last set of figures we're going to get before that budget, which the OBR will be kind of mulling over. And what we've seen really is that we've seen a contraction in the economy in September, just marginally down. There's a little bit of a factor of, I think, the Jaguar Land Rover with the kind of cyber attack there. But we've seen August figures revised down to flat. They're actually slightly negative, but they've been rounded back up to zero there, Martin. And July was down. So July, August, September, the 3 months now we've got leading into the budget, pretty dire figures, which gives the Chancellor even less headroom possibly than what she thought about a week ago.
Jamie Jenkins, in your article, you dive into some of the detail, and it's a real horror show. You talk about the production sector, 2% down in September, and this one just made my eyes pop out. The real collapse is the motor vehicle sector. Output has plunged an astonishing 28.6% in a single month.
Yeah, and that might be down a little bit to that cyber attack that we were just talking about there. But ultimately, the whole economy itself is just stagnating, in particular with production. And services, which is the lifeblood of the UK economy, that's really weak at the moment. And what we've got is this conundrum, Martin, where the Chancellor's borrowing a lot of money. We've talked recently about, 92 billion more borrowing on what the forecast from the year before she got elected. They're borrowing money, investing that in the public sector, in particular wages, growing more jobs in the public sector. But the public sector isn't going to get that tax in to pay for everything to run the economy. So if we weren't borrowing as much money as we were, the economic figures would be even worse. But you can't keep living on an economy like this. And Martin, I think the key thing we've really got to do is they've got to reverse these taxes on the jobs. We've got to support investment. Taxing people out of the country is not going to get investment in. And if you don't get the private sector going, we're going to go in the wrong direction continuing.
And Jamie Jenkins, isn't that the huge point here? We seem to have a bloated, a ballooning public sector, which of course is paid for by the taxpayer, propping up the economy. But it's it's an illusion, because basically without the private sector, we're going to be in big, big trouble.
Well, exactly that. So without private sector paying tax, there is no public sector. Now, people say, well, I pay tax in the public sector, but ultimately all that's doing is recycling money, because you take the tax from the private sector, that then goes to pay for a public sector, and then some of that money comes back in tax. So with a shrinking private sector and a bloated and increasing public sector, what does that mean? There's only one or two things. You either tax people more, which is looking likely what we're going to get in a couple of weeks, or we have to borrow more money. But the worst thing for us as a country, the Chancellor is going to be doing both. So unless she does a U-turn, which she's unlikely to, I think we're going to be talking probably for many months to come of poor economic outcome.
Well, Jamie Jenkins, thanks for coming on the show, and thank you for sending me your missive early this morning. You look like the larks, just like I am. Your Substack, Stats of the Nation, well worth a cheeky follow. Jamie Jenkins, thank you very much for coming on the show today. Always an absolute delight.